Alpha Book Club. This is our online interactive book club that you guys can join right from your computers in your home. My name is Hector Navarro, and joining me tonight, as usual, is Nerdist Editor-in-Chief Rachel Heine.
Oh, both now? Nerdist and Geek and Sundry Editor-in-Chief.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Oh, yes, Nerdist and Geek and Sundry Editor-in-Chief Rachel Heine.
Oh, thanks.
And Geekbomb's very own Miss Maude Garrett.
Yay!
Hello.
Oh, okay, guys. Happy November, everybody. Rent's due. Your rent is due. Welcome to our Alpha community.
I pay mine early.
Oh,
Yep, that's another. I got to do that later tonight. Welcome to our Alpha community. Hi, guys. You guys are so good in the chat. Always so good about tweeting about stuff. It's so great, huh?
Rachel and I look like we're in uniform.
You guys are great.
Yeah.
We all look fancy and dapper, and we all look
Yeah, you look
fantastic.
great. Thanks.
We are so excited to get on the train with y'all this month. Ready to get our wrinkle on
Nope.
and board the Orient Express.
What's
that
the
one's not as
other-
catchy.
What was the other one? We're gonna get our wrinkle on, girl.
Girl, she gone, girl. There was a murder in this book.
he
and
gone.
He gone, boy. He gone. Okay, guys, let's get into it. Let's talk about Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. It was written by Agatha Christie in 1934.
And gosh darn, can't you tell?
Yes, but all things considered, not as racist as I thought it was going to be. Really impressed with the depictions of
Splendid
multiculturalism,
diversity.
splendid diversity. Yes, absolutely.
Europe for you, though.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of a melting pot as well, right? Europe, but without the ugliness
Especially
of
on
Europe.
trains.
Europe.
Yeah. Yes.
You didn't get
What's
that one?
Huh?
I went Europe.
Europe.
Not my finest, not my finest, but you know what they cute.
If you're-
You're welcome.
If you're American in the kitchen, what is it? If you're American in the kitchen and you're I don't know what are you in the bathroom? This is a serial thriller / mystery. She is a serial thriller / mystery novelist. Agatha Christie. I don't know anything about Agatha Christie. She also wrote And Then There Were None with Miss Marple. Is that the protagonist in that, or is that a whole other book? What's that? Those are different books. Miss Marple's another, and it was a series, right? In the same way that the Poirot character is a series. Poirot. Hercule Poirot novel.
Maple is how an Australian says maple.
Maple.
Chucks the maple syrup.
That's right. Maple syrup. So question, guys, for you, for everybody, anybody can answer this. Is Murder on the Orient Express the first Hercule Poirot novel?
No, it's not. I think it's the 13th. 12th
It's
or
the
13th.
12th or
Yeah.
13th,
Yeah.
and this is the one that hit. This is the one people were like, you got to read this one.
You just got to throw shit at a wall and it'll stick eventually.
It's amazing.
I
Eventually,
think it's the oh man.
And in this case, it's really fine literature.
It's so funny. So when I was a kid, I read a bunch of these and I don't really remember them at all.
You read these?
Really?
Yeah.
Agatha Christie.
As a child?
Like when I was like 10.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I would not.
Did you
I
enjoy
read
yourself?
Heidi
Yeah,
or
I
something.
did. I really liked
I read
Miss
comic
I think I
books and
liked
still
Miss
do.
Marple more than I liked
Hercule Poirot.
Poirot, but I'm looking at the titles and some of them I remember. I
You did read.
remember Sparkling Cyanide. Cyanide plays a major part in a lot of her books. If I
I thought you were going to say in your childhood. I was like, okay, that's why you were drawn to that book. Sparkling Cyanide.
This
I gotta
one
read
I
this.
know I read, but I don't super remember it. I think I do. Death on the Nile. I read that one.
Ooh,
Dead Man's Folly. But I read a bunch of them, and
those sound classy.
Do you know,
they're fun.
you know this because you've seen the movie. It still sounds like true in the castle. That's what you ought to know. Harry Potter. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I have seen that movie. Somebody in the chat said that the PBS series, Miss Marple series, they loved it, which is great.
I think there was a BBC Poirot series because my parents watched it and I left the room.
It
Real
does
quick.
seem like Masterpiece Theater, like, oh, this is boring, I'm out. When you're a kid, when you're young, and we're all young. And you're, what, 20 now?
Or just.
Just made it. Odo Fidi says Death on the Nile is also a fantastic Poirot.
Yeah.
The film adaptation of Death on the Nile with Maggie Smith
Yes.
was their first intro to Agatha Christie. Love, love, love.
Yeah.
I love Maggie Smith, so
I
that's
just
great.
love the titles. They do it with mirrors.
Ooh.
A pocket full of rye.
Or fun.
Death in the clouds. Murder in Mesopotamia. These are really good.
Those are great. Those sound like
yeah.
like chapter titles for like a Sherlock Holmes novel or basically that's what
Which
we're
is
talking
also a
about.
mystery.
Anyway, guys, Hercule Poirot is an eccentric detective with a mustache, and he's going to be played
Poirot.
Poirot.
This is why I quit French after.
Poirot
Parrot.
Hello.
is an eccentric detective with a moustache, and he will be now Kenneth Branagh in the new film.
I had to look up IMDb.
Oh,
I
yeah,
needed
you did.
aid.
The characters.
Whilst reading
Yeah.
to get
For
to bring
all
some
of
those
them?
characters
Yeah,
in.
which is something that I really don't like doing.
I didn't.
I did.
Because
I did with Gone Girl too.
Well,
Girl.
for this one, I didn't want to. I don't know if that's because Johnny Depp's in it and I just was mad.
Absolutely.
But,
I knew he was in it. I didn't know who was playing.
Just
I
as-
still
just as-
don't know. Who's he playing?
Just a sidebar. Well, just
guess.
a sidebar. Yeah, one guess.
Ratchet.
Yeah.
He's Ratchet. That Johnny
Okay.
Depp is Ratchet. He's gross. He's Ratchet. That is the one piece of casting that I'm like, that's not good casting. And I think Johnny Depp is a very talented actor, but I'm like, that's not good casting. Every other actor that I looked up who was in the new film, the new adaptation, while I'm introduced to this character in these first 5 chapters, I was like, ooh, that's good casting. Daisy Ridley, perfect.
No, Johnny Depp. No, and
Nope.
it's.
But Johnny, I'm like the way they describe Johnny, the Ratchet character, I'm like, oh, that's not. No, it doesn't. It doesn't
And I
fit.
don't know whether now is the best time to go into it, but I definitely do want to go through the description used about Ratchet because it's not often at all that you read about a character and this descriptive terminology is evil.
Yeah.
I thought that they were pure evil.
Yeah.
And you know, someone saying, "Why won't you take the case?" Because I do not like your face.
I do not like your face. End of chapter. That was great.
It's so French too.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Heine?
J. Depp
Be
right
frank?
there, and the way the character described, he's like very overweight and balding and you know, evil and gross looking and stuff, and like.
I don't know.
I mean, yeah. Whatever your feelings are on Johnny Depp, I still feel like that is a Hollywood interpretation of that description and character. Do you know what I mean? Johnny Depp still looks dapper and put together, and you know, I don't
He
know.
looks
I don't.
like Morticia and
Gomez.
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 Looks like Gomez. Like
it's a Gomez
I
thing.
get that, but even Gomez is like
Not
a handsome
evil.
guy. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I think Gomez is a handsome. He's eccentric, that character, but he's still handsome. So, what were you saying? Sorry, we were talking about something, and then we did a sidebar because you didn't know who the characters were.
Yeah, I didn't look it up because I think, I don't know, with this one I like, I'm hearing a British accent in my head, which I really enjoy.
oh.
It was 5 o'clock on it, you know, it just
Yes.
feels very much
They
more
went down to the
dramatic.
station and sat down in the chair in the carriage.
Yeah, and I feel like
Compartment.
this one, I wish I had a train to ride while I'm reading it because I love,
Oh, yeah.
I love trains, and I wanted to try, even though it's hard for me to visualize things, as we've said. I wanted to try to with this one because there were so many characters. I didn't want to get the movie version in there. I don't know. I didn't want Josh Gad in my head either.
I was fine with it
Who's
because
he?
I
I like
learned
Josh
he's playing
Gad,
a
but-
character named Hector, so I'm down with that. I love Josh Gad.
Yeah, he's
I
a
do
good
too,
Hector
but he
queen.
is such a like character
For sure.
that he would overpower anything I imagined in the book.
So this is interesting. I didn't know.
Book's
Did you guys?
hot.
Did you guys know what's that? Who is?
Book. Book.
Oh.
Balk?
Book.
M. Blanc?
The
That guy? The French guy? Well, Maude's lost in hotness.
Who's
Tom Bateman. Can we
Yeah,
just get?
I had to
don't know
look
how
up
quick
Tom
we can
Bateman.
get on that.
Brrr.
yeah.
What a lot of
What a
stuff.
babe.
Book was supposed to be like his equal in the police force, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I guess they went a little younger with him. Yeah.
So my thing that
Handsome
I
guy.
had with this one, I've been listening to it on Audible again, and it's narrated by Dan Stevens, who if I'm not
Oh.
mistaken, played Beast in Beauty and the Beast, and,
And-
a bunch of other things. Yeah.
Legion. He's the
Legion,
lead guy in
the
Legion.
guest.
And he's so equipped to do a lot of accents, and his narrating accent alone is just like, fantastic. But his French is on point. The problem is with Agatha Christie's introduction in the first 5 chapters, we had so many characters thrown at us at such a rapid rate, and you only got quips of their characteristics and their description, and then boom, straight in you're in, and there's like 14 people having a conversation at once. And I was like, even listening to character acting, knowing that different people and like consistent, character voices with whoever's saying them, well, I was lost.
Yeah, I feel
Super
like you need a
confused.
diagram
Yeah.
of everyone and who they are and where they're coming from. And they do introduce a lot very quickly, and I feel like that's if I remember correctly from her other books, there are a lot like I think it was called Sparkling Cyanide, or previously published, I think it's the same book, The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side, which is weird. But I remember there being a lot of characters because they're always like sort of the Clue-esque whodunits.
Yes.
So I feel like she's trying to confuse you by introducing all these people, and I imagine a ton of red herrings and other fun mystery tropes. But it is, when you're reading it, you're just like, there's a lot of people here and I started
Yeah.
writing them down because I was trying
Really?
to keep track of
I
them.
listened to
think-
it for a second time, and I'm
Yeah.
still kind
Wow.
of. I missed a lot the first listen, and
Sure.
I'm glad I went back again. But
I think
still.
that I specifically looked up this live action cast to help me keep track of
Yeah.
all the characters, knowing that
that
I would
would
be
help
introduced to them, that I'm like, visualize them, hear their voice, and I went, okay, who's this character in the film? Michelle Pfeiffer, got it. Each time this name comes up,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
Michelle
Michelle
Pfeiffer, got it, got it, got it,
See, I
check.
thought that was Judi Dench, so I got that wrong. And so now.
But then we also did meet. We met them both. I think we met.
Yeah, but I got them wrong.
Judy.
I quickly
oh,
looked
you-
it up,
you
and I was
swapped
like,
them over?
and then
Okay.
replaced
Okay,
them all.
yeah, that's really interesting. Earlier in the chat, Thrash Odin said that he was picturing, if we're talking about casting, was picturing Ratchet as Paul Giamatti. Amazing
Oh.
casting. Paul Giamatti is one of my favorite actors, and he's so good at playing
He's so
a
bad
likable
as
guy,
Rhino.
and he's so good at playing. Oh, I thought he was hilarious as
He
Rhino.
was
I love
so
him.
bad.
I loved him in that. It was the hammiest. All of the scenery was chewed. I loved it. I thought it was great. I'm gonna get you, little spider. I thought that was awesome. It was great.
It was so bad.
Yeah. Well,
Took me out of the
Is
movie.
That's a
Branagh
silly movie.
directing too? Branagh?
I think so. I think he is.
Yes, and directing.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
is, right?
And he's Harry Potter, so that's
Yeah.
like, how do you do it all?
Okay, that makes me more excited for the movie.
More excited.
That makes me less excited because Kenneth Branagh directed Thor but wasn't in it, and I liked Thor. And he directed Jack Ryan and was also in it, and that wasn't a great movie. And his
Right.
Russian villain got a lot of screen time, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
You're like, hey, I'm here for Chris Pine. What's going on? I'm here for this reboot, for this Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit. And it was a lot of Russian villain. So,
Interesting.
yeah. Kenneth Branagh. Kenneth Branagh is a little bit like his Harry Potter character,
Yeah.
I feel like.
That's what I'm interested
little
to
bit.
know.
He's a little
Is he
Gilderoy
more
Lockhart.
Gilderoy, or is he more Dunkirk, stern captain who makes great decisions? The way that Dan Stevens voices Hercule Poirot is very softly spoken, very meek and mild almost, where it's like, he's barely like more than a whisper.
I could see that.
Because
I could see that.
you maybe underestimate him.
Whatever it is, but it's just like in fast talking, like a little bit fast. He's like, thank you for so much for putting me up in your compartment. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, there's no authority behind him.
I could see that.
all.
Damn, look at that mustache. That's a good stash, though. I'm not mad at
I
it. That is a Mario level stash.
it's so silly.
Oh my!
Oh, I haven't seen this
goodness.
trailer. This is great. It is very silly,
yeah,
but
this is a good cast.
distinctive.
That's too.
It is a
That's too
great cast.
ridiculous. I'm
It's
waiting for it
too-
to wave at
it's
me.
1934. It was a different time. And speaking of
No one
1934,
else has that mustache.
exactly, it'll be distinctive. Look at that schnauzer. Wow.
That is a dog.
Yeah,
there's
it's
a
impressive.
dog
Yeah.
on his face.
It's like a little. What are those dogs called? A little Scottish what? What are they? Scottish
Terrier?
I guess Scottish Terrier. Yeah, he looks like a Scottish Terrier.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Weston?
I don't know. But
I don't
That's
know.
hilarious. Speaking of 1934, I did not know this. Apparently, Agatha Christie actually got stuck on the Orient Express in real life, which is true. She sent letters to her husband about actual people on the train who inspired the characters.
fun.
That's
Really
really
cool.
fun.
Yeah.
That's really awesome because
it
yeah,
funny that the
it's a melting pot.
Americans-
Are boisterous and obnoxious?
You
Yeah,
just,
yeah, they are.
you just see me be like, ha ha! Realize the audience. I'm about to tell two Americans that
Yeah.
American tourists are the worst.
Oh, yeah, they are.
We
Yeah,
are.
Real bad.
I'm not
Yeah,
offended
real
by
bad.
that.
Yeah, it's like
That's-
obnoxious, loud.
I am embarrassed to travel internationally because
Yeah.
of the fact that I am an American citizen. Yeah, that's embarrassing.
Any person who could understand English knew about Mrs. Hubbard. What's it?
That's a
Hubbard?
good description.
That used to happen
husband,
when I studied abroad in college in Italy. There were people in my program who would just talk really loudly about the parties they went to or whatever they were
Ugh.
doing on the train actually, which was where I love trains in Europe. But like they didn't think that people understood them, but everyone there did, and you could just see people just being like looking at them, and you're like, oh, I'm not with them. I'm so
No awareness.
sorry.
mundane conversation that they and like I feel that the louder that you speak in a public place, the more important you believe what you're saying is.
I don't know. I don't know if it's an importance thing or if it's a
But it has this level
They-
of
they're having-
I
obnoxious.
think it's a lack
Yeah.
of self-awareness.
lack of self-awareness. I feel
You
like is what it
realize
is.
you're
That as
doing
being
it.
I've been in
obnoxious.
instances where even with my like friends and loved ones, I'll tell somebody, I'm like, hey, you're being a little bit loud, and they get super embarrassed, like, really sorry. It's just like a lack of awareness.
Is
thing.
it a hearing thing?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I was trying to think back
Yeah.
to like my childhood. It's like, at what point did I learn to not be loud in public places like that? Was
When
it
you
something
learnt
that my
human
parents?
decency.
Yeah, but it was like, was it something my parents told me? Was it something I learned from like observing people, or was it something I learned
Inside
from
voice?
the media? I don't know. Maybe.
Outside voice.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe because I was like a little nerd who liked to follow the rules. maybe Rachel can relate. You know, like we're little nerds that like didn't want to break rules, so maybe that's why we're aware.
But you also know those what is
ended up
the
breaking
descriptive
some rules.
terminology?
Okay, all right, you're cooler than me, Rachel.
No, I'm
Obviously,
not cool. I was
Rachel.
just upset. But
You're
no, when I was little, I just didn't. I was just shy, and I was super oblivious, but quiet oblivious. I would just. I wasn't like a rule abider. I was just like, I'm imagining a full fairy thing happening over here. It's like
cool.
I had like a lot of imaginary friends and imaginary worlds and quiet book time.
So my mother will talk loud in public as a way to invite people into the conversation.
Huh.
And I don't
Oh.
appreciate it.
I've never. That's interesting.
I hate it, actually. She'll talk to herself like at the checkout line and be like, I mean, can you who on earth would marry this chap, you know? And then someone like turns around like
Expecting somebody to agree and then start a conversation.
Yes,
Sure.
you just can't have random conversations with random people all the time.
Yeah.
We have some new people in the chat, which is really fun.
Ooh.
Hell Nurse.
Hell Nurse.
Says,
That's a
I
rad
wonder,
name.
that's interesting. I wonder if any
Enter
of those
character,
people
Hell
ever
Nurse.
realized they inspired those characters. I think about that sometimes where,
They're reading a book. They're like, wait a minute.
yeah.
Shit, that's
or
me.
Like,
in 1938, they're like, oh, this is a popular book. I was on this train once. Oh my God, that's me. I'm the worst. I'm sorry.
My daughter loved this book.
Yeah. Oh,
Wait a
yeah.
second.
I
Maybe.
die?
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, Knox is a Fallout fan, so to that I say.
Cool. But also to Hell Nurse, they're a fan of Hell and Nurses. So to that I say, yeah, that's awesome.
Wow,
That's
imagine
great.
if Nurse was your own kind of hell. What was that movie? Misery.
Oh, that's
Kathy
what they would be
Bates.
like.
could
Yeah.
do
Who,
that.
if you guys were casting my mother in a movie, Kathy
Kathy
bloody
Bates? Okay.
Oh, and you've met my
see
mum,
that.
so you know that I'm right.
I would cast Angie Harmon as my movie mom. That would be my mom. Angie Harmon.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Really?
Really? You got a
Very
MILF,
cool.
mama?
My mom is, yeah. I would do
She's a
Michelle
babe.
Pfeiffer or
Babe.
maybe Sharon Stone.
Cool.
No one wants to get with Kathy Bates. I mean, people have. But as far as mums go, it's not a compliment.
That's not true. Kathy Bates
I love my
is
mum.
Kathy Bates is a beautiful woman. She's
Yes,
beautiful.
she's 100% so beautiful. Wow, your mum's a MILF too!
What? Oh, you looked up Angie Harmon? Not my mom. I'll show you. I didn't show you guys last time because my mom visited this weekend, but I'll show you guys a video that I
Two
had
supermodels
of,
and my mum.
of months and months ago.
Anyway.
It's
So you
weird
guys
how
liking-
I turned out the way I did. It's so weird. Huh?
you
We're
guys
having the
liking
general
this
discussion
so far?
Okay, here's my overall thoughts. Let's do overall thoughts. Here's what
Yeah.
you need to know. First of all, let's just knock through these little bullet
Yeah,
points
can
real
we
quick.
go-
General discussion. There's multiple train rides.
That was confusing
Okay.
as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Detective
I think the
Hercule
first part was
Poirot
unnecessary.
is on the train to Istanbul, connecting on the Orient Express.
Yes.
Boom. Meets Mary Debenham and the Colonel. Debenham, and she's played by Daisy Ridley. Boom.
Yeah.
Poirot meets up with M. Book.
Who's the Colonel?
In Istanbul. I don't know. I think he's a guy from Hamilton who I'm not familiar with. The Colonel.
Let me
He's
get
an
it.
actor from like the play Hamilton.
Yeah.
The original cast, so I haven't seen him. So he's coming up in the world. Good for him.
God, that
Poirot
Tom
meets with M. Book, who's that handsome guy, Tom Bateman or whatever.
Oh, Book. This is
In
Book.
Book
I
in
only know
Istanbul.
this because I'm listening to it,
Great.
so I'm guessing it's right.
He sees Ratchet and McQueen. McQueen is, of course, Josh Gad.
Yep.
Hector McQueen. Love that name. That's a rad name. Poirot sees the other passengers on the train. There's a confrontation with Ratchet when Ratchet's like, you're going to work for me, see? And he's like,
Yeah.
nope. The
Yeah,
train
you
makes
haven't
it to
faced it,
Belgrade. There's people swapping compartments. Mrs. Hubbard's suspicious against Ratchet. Doesn't like him. Ratchet gets stabbed to death. The train gets stuck in the snow. The murderer is on the train! Exclamation point.
Dun,
That's where we're at.
dun.
General
Is
discussion.
he or she? Who knows?
Yeah, because they're like, they could not have left out of the window because there would be train tracks, or there would be tracks in the snow. And I'm like,
But they've
but
stopped
couldn't
the
the,
car.
but couldn't the snow, wouldn't the snow
Have
like
fallen.
blown over it and the tracks are, it's a perfect crime.
But Poirot seems like a really smart person for him to instantly dismiss that.
yeah,
I mean,
don't
but
know.
maybe he's also playing, because if the murderer is on the train, can we really trust anything he's saying to anyone else? Because
Anything that like the conductor or whoever else is
Yeah.
saying, sure.
That's just a whole
Could be
other
one of them.
layer I was not ready for.
So here's my overall thoughts of the first 5 chapters so far.
Yes.
Murder on the Orient Express is boring but good. That's
Yeah.
the category I put it in. Boring but good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's
agree
it's
with
a
you on
quick
that
read
so far.
but it is boring. It's like a mom movie or a dad movie. It's something that usually I don't think would be my area of interest of like a story, but it's very well written. It's interesting, and I'm forcing myself to remember as many details as I can because
Yes.
I feel like there's going to be a payoff. So that
Yes.
later, if
Yes.
something gets revealed, I can be like, "No, that's true. Agatha Christie put that earlier in
But
the
I'm
chapter."
finding that is deterring from my appreciating of the book because I'm going back to everything. I'm reading into every
You're trying to
tiny
solve
little
the
thing.
mystery
Yeah,
instead of
because
just
I know that there
along
is
for
one.
the ride. Yeah.
So every time it's like, with the snow falling, I was like, woo. And then there was even something like,
Wait, what was the for snow falling?
well, it's the window was a decoy. So that rule that out. And I was like, okay. Someone was leaving wearing a kimono around that time. I was like, oh, kimono, who's wearing that? I don't know.
Okay.
Did I miss that detail? I'm not sure. You're mirroring my excitement. It's
I
great.
am. Mm-hmm.
No, but I like I said, I'm listening to it for a second time I think the first time to try and piece it together. And I think people are even saying, you've got to draw it out. You need a map to figure out what's going on. Odo Feidi, yep, says it's a slow burn.
Yeah, I think
It's not boring, it gets better, says Bucky B 618.
Yeah, I think
618.
from what I remember too, there's like this setup and then a lot of twists and turns. So I think while it's good to go back and track them, I think there'll be more clues that are laid. But for me, because I read a lot of mysteries, my first thought was, okay, so I can't really trust anything Poirot says because I already know from just knowing the character in pop culture that he's an amazing detective and he always solves the case.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, a murder happens. He already knows it was someone on the train.
Yeah.
So why would he really let anything slip
in front of someone?
Why wouldn't he lay a trap for people and say different things so that they let other things slip?
You are a murder reader because that just was not even something that
Or like the red kimono to me means that it's probably a man.
Oh,
That feels like a red herring that someone would throw on a kimono and
I
try
didn't
to
even think about that.
throw them off the scent.
But then the other thing that I noticed was straight away when it was like the stab wounds, there were many like a woman, and this one person, I think it was the conductor of the train, was so adamant that it could only have been a woman. I think mentioned it twice, and I was like, what are you trying to write? What are you trying to say? Why are you trying to decoy
Also,
that
we can't
information?
rule out the possibility that there's multiple murderers working in tandem as a team. So maybe that guy working with somebody else.
Someone out the window, someone in a kimono, someone, who knows?
And you know what? Could be everybody but Poirot. Could be everybody on the train is a murderer.
But the other thing I was noticing as well is that he was a restless sleeper. He woke up quite a few times that night, and there was a loud thump which woke him up.
But that one I'm gonna pass off as like the story dictated that he needed to hear the commotion that was happening at midnight so that he could confirm certain details, and then he heard a scream, and then he heard like the window opening so that Poirot could confirm that it was happening at that time. I feel like that's the only reason that he was a restless sleeper, so that when people are telling him this is when it happened between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., he was like, yes, I could confirm I was awake for that, just so that we can be like, okay, that wasn't a lie. That was true. Our Poirot was telling us that. But no, now you're saying that could also be a lie? All right.
I mean, I don't know. I usually don't trust those things because it's like, okay, there's a loud thump during the thing. What if that's trying to throw off the timing?
Sure, could be.
Or getting rid of the body, or different things that I don't know.
So let's talk about motive, maybe. So I think the setting up of Ratchet was a fascinating one.
Yes.
Instantly this Poirot who we have really put together quite quickly, and especially if this is book 13, he's a very respectable, smart, super reliable person who's just on it. And for him to immediately dismiss Ratchet as a decent person just because of his eyes, and just saying it was like, the savage that he had was like a wild animal behind his body, which is the cage. Like, beautiful description.
Which does bring to mind Johnny Depp to me.
Got it, okay.
A little bit. I can see that in characters that he has played.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that makes sense, I guess.
But you've got someone who's
Fear and
died.
Loathing in Las Vegas, a little of Captain Sparrow. All right.
Even like, this is a bad movie, but Secret Window, and like, he can play
Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, Sweeney Todd, yeah.
Rango.
Sure.
But you've got a victim, a dead person that instantly the person that you trust the most hates. So it's like, no one felt remorse when Ratchet was
true.
the one who was declared dead.
We moved immediately to like, okay, let's solve this because there's a murderer and the rest of us might be in danger. It wasn't like a
mourning the loss.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Oh, the loss of life. It was like, yep, he was a piece of shit. Move on.
And when you really break it down, Ratchet went to Hercule saying, I will give you $20,000, which in those days would have been like $2 million? Like so much money.
1934? I think we're talking in excess of $8 billion here, Maude. $20,000 was... an insane amount of money back then.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. So
Yeah.
it's money that no one really should be turning down, but he does because he
Agreed.
thinks it's evil. Not because he thinks that there's a threat or his life is at stake. Just doesn't like the guy. Like, God, that's badass. But at the same time, if he had accepted the job, he might not be dead. Ratchet might still be alive. You know?
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
So it's like,
Interesting.
he says he,
So
you know.
do you think he feels guilt?
That's
He's like,
the thing. No one does.
But for
Reading
guilt
it,
for
you
turning.
don't.
That's true.
Hercule does not.
He really doesn't.
He's
Just
like,
a-
hey,
just
I
a-
think someone's trying to kill me. Can I pay you the highest sum imaginable to help me?
$12 trillion,
No.
and he says
I
no,
will
no
not.
thanks. Quick
And
question.
then he's dead.
Does
You're
anybody
like, dude.
does anybody on the set have a pair of sunglasses? Because I want to experiment with something. If anybody has any, is there any sunglasses nearby? Sunglasses? Get a yes? There's some sunglasses. We're in sunny California. No rush. I mean, it's
What are
whenever.
you
We've got
about to do?
another 45 minutes.
Here we
Take
go.
your time.
That
Damn,
was
that
quick.
was so fast.
Thank you.
What is happening?
Okay, here's what we're gonna try.
Boom.
I feel like Agatha Christie predicted the CSI Miami joke because the end of chapter 5 literally ends with them looking at Ratchet's body,
Yeah.
and then this one guy says, "In this coach, Dr. Constantine and I are the only travelers. In the coach from Bucharest is an old gentleman with a lame leg. He's well known to the conductor. Beyond that, there are ordinary carriages, but these do not concern us since they were locked after dinner, had been served late last night. Forward of the Istanbul Calais coach, there is only the dining car." And then Poirot says, "Then it seems," said Poirot slowly, "as though we must look for our murderer in the Istanbul Calais coach."
Dun,
Right?
dun.
That's the moment. That's the moment right there. That doesn't really work. All right, thank you for the sunglasses.
Wow,
it didn't
we
really,
had to run around.
didn't really pan out.
Loved it.
Didn't
Wow,
really pan
here
out.
you go. We've actually had condition nerd do the math
Wow,
for us.
I was way off.
$20,000 in 1934 is $365.8 million.
300,000, not million.
Oh, was it
300,000.
1,000?
Yeah, $300,800 or
Sure?
something
Oh,
like
was
that.
it,
Yeah.
it was a point something? Oh,
Yeah,
no,
can we
scroll it up again
can we
a little
scroll
bit?
up a little bit?
Sorry.
But really, for us poor people, the
Condition
difference between 300,000 and 8 billion, pretty much the same. It's just a lot of money. $300,806
Oh, yeah.
and
No,
6
I saw that
cents.
as another.
300 million.
I was like, that's a
That's
lot.
nuts.
300,000.
Look at that, and then we got another one.
306,000.
Hell Nurse is like, I'm gonna throw in my nurse hat into the ring. According to their
So
calculation,
it's $250,000.
373,968 and 18 cents.
You
That's
could
crazy.
You could buy an apartment.
Yes, I am,
outside
Kelly.
of
Yes,
the
I
city,
am.
you
Comic
know.
book trading cards. I know an apartment. But yeah. So let's get into the characters a little bit. Let's break it down by characters because, well, first of all, that was my general. What's been your general review of the section so far? And then we'll go to Rachel.
Can't read it once. Too much is happening. I need a slow.
You listened to it twice.
Yeah.
Wow. So you were trying to solve it.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll ever be able to just let it go and just enjoy the ride?
No. Oh, a pun though. Appreciate that. Toot toot.
Hey, come on, ride the train. Rachel, what do you think? What's your
Someone's gonna die.
I am intrigued. I really wanted to read past where we were.
Oh, you have to stop yourself.
So
Because it's titled "Woman." A woman.
Oh, a woman. A woman? Question mark.
just
Yeah.
because I'm the same way when I'm reading it, I have to stop and slow myself down. Otherwise, I'm like, I have usually by a certain point I have a prediction, and then my whole goal
Who is it?
to prove. I don't yet for this, but like at a certain
Ooh.
point in a book when I'm reading it, I'm like, and it'll change obviously as I learn more. But
Mary.
like, I don't
Who's
know
your
yet.
prediction so far? Let's get into it.
Oh, it's
You
gonna be
don't know
different every
yet?
week. Every
Not
week.
enough information?
No, I don't feel like I have enough information yet.
But just take a stab.
I feel like I'm gonna lean towards the most obvious answer, who is Hector McQueen. I'm gonna go with him
You're gonna go with Hector McQueen.
because he's the assistant to Ratchet, and
Yep.
he was being like verbally abused by him in the beginning, and so
There
I'm
was
like,
a line in there as well, where it was a throwaway line which I grabbed onto, and it said, "Why would someone as nice as McQueen work for that man?"
sure. So I feel like the rest of it. That's who I'm leaning towards now. But yeah, like you said, it might be different every single week. Might be different every week.
I would
Okay.
say Mary because there was a challenge there that Hercule was noticing where it was like, you seem to be, like all this commotion was happening. And Miss Debenham, what's that?
Debenham. I don't know.
Debenham?
She's British.
Is that Michelle Pfeiffer?
Daisy Ridley.
No, okay. There was another one. Who's the older woman? Who is Michelle Pfeiffer's
Michelle
character?
Pfeiffer is Hobbs or Hubs or something. With
Oh,
her-
Mrs.
with
Hubbs?
Mrs. Hubbs,
Got
and then Dame Judi Dench is the
Princess
the
Dragomir
princess.
or something.
Yeah,
Who's described
love it.
as
There
a
we go.
toad.
Look at that. The widow, Michelle Pfeiffer, right there.
That helps.
The
That's
maid,
what we need.
I don't know. Yeah, like I need to keep looking at
Yeah.
that. The doctor.
Yeah,
the
I
princess,
wonder if people are going to
Dame Judi
have
Dench.
trouble
I wouldn't
with
even
the
mind like
movie.
an AR
I guess they're trying
experience.
to kind of pass
Ooh,
by
Willem
that.
Dafoe? Cool.
I'm going to go with Monsieur Book, only because
Okay.
the
'Cause he's the
person
nicest.
because he's asking for help. And that's a sure way to throw somebody off. If you're the one that's bringing them in,
And was it
that throws you off the scent.
Was it Book who was saying that it was a woman? Woman. There you go. But you know, it can't be him because he's so good looking. And
In the
now that we
film.
realize-
Oh, and
man.
then you know what? Then it is him because I am prejudiced against good-looking and wealthy people. So it's definitely him. So
Everyone
let's
look up Tom Bateman.
Tom Bateman. Let's go through and he's got a name like a serial killer.
Oh,
Tom
he's 6'2".
Bateman. Oh, 6'2". So what? Too tall? Too short?
Perfect.
6'2".
And he's
Perfect
younger than
height.
me.
Yes. Oh, so he's 19.
Yes.
So let's go through, guys, character by character by character. First up,
Debenham.
Hercule Poirot. Just what is there to say? He's just like your go-to, like.
I'm just glad
super
we
smart.
can't see the moustache when we're listening or reading to the book.
Oh yeah,
That is
well,
such a
it's-
distraction.
No,
I liked when he
It looks
tried
like a feather duster.
I hate it.
when he
Oh,
when he
it's so
had
It's like
to.
it's dusting his
Stupid.
chin and it can't pick up that stray bit of dust.
No, it's
on his
true.
chin.
Get out of there.
It's a lot of work because when they described him, when Agatha Christie described him sitting down for soup, he was like he had to like go through like the
Meticulously.
tedious task of making sure there was no soup in his mustache.
Why
and
would
then
you
once
bother?
Why would you
once
have
that
a
was
mustache
done,
like that?
you know, hey
if
man,
you did,
if you
why
gotta
would you
flaunt
ever
it,
order soup if you had a mustache?
people
like
go
that?
through crazy
I must
things
ask that
for
question
beauty.
every day.
That's very good. That's very good. All right, so we're done talking about him, right? Is there anything left? I don't know. I feel like
Smart,
Branagh's
brilliant,
gonna be good.
very two-dimensional in like the way that he
Sure.
is being. I'm so interested in the direction that Dan Stevens got to voice Hercule Poirot. I
Someone
wonder
in
if
the
I could
chat
find
was
some of
saying
it.
that it was very similar. The way that you described Dan Stevens' narration is very similar to the series that they did.
Got it.
So I think that might be where
Very
it comes
good.
Right.
Very good.
Super withdrawn.
Maybe
Okay.
the first book kind of sets that up. I do feel like that's missing too, because I read a lot of series and like you get a little bit about the character in there. Maybe it's just a different style of mystery, but
Yes.
in the books that I read, there's usually a through line because the character has a personal life as well as their thing. And it's not maybe the focus, but like their partner or what's ever going on. And so they'll
Yeah.
like, in the book previous, she got kidnapped. You know, like it'll just like kind of set up so you know, like,
there's no
she's
real
recovering
backstory.
from this thing. And you're right, I think it's probably just a period thing, a time period thing that maybe that's not what this is about. We know who Poirot is. And there are books like that now where it's just like you have this detective and he's Italian and he does a thing and, you know, that's a very
you
like,
are him. And
Yeah,
you
and
are
that's
him
just
as
the
you read this
thing.
story,
But
yeah.
I like the complications of the personal stuff
Yes.
with my detectives.
I've got a question for you, especially considering the era that this is written in, 1934, which was about a decade after Sherlock Holmes, maybe 2 decades after Sherlock Holmes. How is it that none of us have you've got two characters who are, as we've just really attached to quite quickly, he is a brilliant person, Sherlock is a genius. How are these not one of the same? How are we not confusing the two so much? How do they have such their own
What
identities?
differentiates them?
Yeah.
It's a good question, Maude.
Thanks, Hector. I know you're buying time.
No, I'm not. That's for a really good question because I don't know. Now we know the cultural impact of a
Yes.
character like Sherlock Holmes, but in 1934, I don't know if he's been around for 10 years. If you know what I mean, I don't know the cultural impact of the character because he
How
hasn't
many
been
other-
around for decades and decades and decades, but only 10 years. Whenever I try to think about how popular was Spider-Man really in the 60s, I'm like, how many people, how many thousands, hundreds of thousands of people were reading comic books published by this small-ish company in New York where there was a comic book character. Then he gets on the Electric Company. Okay, so now people know live-action Spider-Man because he's this thing on the Electric Company. Then he gets a cartoon show. I'm like, is that when it hits with this theme song? When does that level of popularity hit to where everything that came after is a copy of that? And then like characters that came after have to be different just to avoid being a copy.
Yeah.
So did Sherlock Holmes have that same cultural impact where people, people always joke, that grandpa joke of like, in my day, movies were called books. Like, is that what it was in 1934? Like that Sherlock Holmes novels were the shit and everyone was reading them.
And
wasn't
were
there.
there other, because we have two kind of iconic mystery series, whatever you want to call them, characters. Are those the only ones that made it and that were
there's
popular,
a
or was
ton
it a
more that-
big
yeah.
genre of
Yeah.
of those? But like, how many?
It's really interesting.
But I want to, like, the part where we can kind of relate to it and get in on it is that we have experienced Sherlock Holmes.
All these years
Yeah.
later, and
it-
now
when
Poirot.
when
So
like
how?
if it
have
was one of
the
those,
Benedict
Yeah.
name
Cumberbatch
a
one,
male detective, boom, Sherlock Holmes, like without fail. Knowing the success of that character, reading this, where it on paper is virtually the same character, how is it for you? How are you able to differentiate and not immediately apply Sherlock Holmes to a
This is
Hercule
a
Poirot?
really good, and I'm still trying to think about it myself, so I'll try to come up with my own answer. Rachel, if you have one, but Odie Feedy has a great response. There are very large differences. Sherlock tends to be someone who can't fit into society. Poirot wasn't that. He was a genius and an incredible observer, but he can interact with people without putting them off. He had friends.
Yeah.
This story starts, and this guy has a bud.
Yeah.
And they're buddies, and they're talking, and then
Who's
he,
Watson then?
you know, Watson. Yeah, but Watson's the sidekick.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
he's
okay.
sort
That there's
of,
like a there's
yeah,
a
they play
status
with each
already
other,
there. They,
yeah.
you know, which is really interesting. That's a great question, and I know that. I think that Benedict Cumberbatch's portrayal really drives that home of like he is on the spectrum. He can't fit into regular society. He puts people off. I didn't really think of Sherlock Holmes before the BBC series Cumberbatch in that way. Even like the Robert Downey, it's like I considered him eccentric, but he's like an action star and like, you know. But then when you watch the BBC series, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, he really puts people off, but he's so smart. But yeah, that's a great response. Is Poirot doesn't do that.
And yeah, Sherlock was at the turn of the century,
And
more
Poirot was
late
modern.
1800s, and
Cool.
Poirot was a
Yeah,
modern.
that's
They're
really
on, yeah. So that's cool.
Very cool.
I do like that you know, yeah, one of them is socially inept in a way, in many ways.
Now I want to
but
read an old. I've never read a Sherlock Holmes novel.
I read those when I was younger too.
Yeah, I'm sure. What
There was
haven't
no
you
book.
read?
But
No
I don't
page unturned.
remember a lot of stuff because I was too young to read it. I was just
Sure.
like, I'm gonna read it.
I like words, and then
Yeah.
you were. You're like that little baby GIF that's just.
Yeah. Yeah.
but there is one thing, a line that does resonate with me in this theory that they do have very distinct personalities, and I think, you know, going on the comment that he could observe without anyone knowing that he was observing him. He even says that he sits in the compartment and he studied her with, you know, it said it like literally verbatim. He studied her without her realizing, and he could just look and then boom, whereas Sherlock's got theatrics behind it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
that's true.
maybe to go off of that, the way I picture it is Poirot is like a people person, like that's his
But
specialty.
he's still not really, is he?
Well, he's a
Understand? It's like
he's
almost the
a
psychology
student of people.
Yeah.
He studies them, he observes them, he can do that from afar, but Sherlock is more about like clues and shit. He's more about like, oh, there's some white powder here. That originates from South Africa, so that must mean like
Yeah,
he's more
he
like
doesn't get
environment.
people at all.
He doesn't get people
He
at
gets
all.
evidence.
Yeah.
He gets
But Poirot was like
materials.
reading people, and he's like, okay, I know what type of person you are. I know what type of person you are. That I'm gonna store that, and then he gets this vibes from Ratchet, and he's like, I'm not dealing with you because I know what type of person you are.
Can you do
I'm
the
gonna-
Ratchet voice again?
What was the
He
what
did
was the
like an
Ratchet
old
voice?
timey gangster, and I really.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, see, I want you to want you to work for me, see.
That's
Hector,
why
get
they-
over here.
That's why they cast Johnny Depp. Because
Perfect.
he looks like that voice.
Yeah,
he looks
yeah.
like that voice.
Yeah.
Sure. All right.
I'm going to say something stupidly nerdy right now, but this helped me just
Go.
then. So I'm going to say, if you play D&D, it's the difference between insight and perception. So it's, you get it? Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Yeah. So it sounds like Sherlock's. Oh, there you go. Sherlock's more insight, but Poirot is more perception.
Perception.
There you go.
Actually, I would have flipped it.
sense.
Really, perception's observation.
Yeah,
You
and I
see the
consider
room.
perception as like you see the room, so that's
Oh, but
Sherlock.
insight is
and
knowing.
insight is like I have an insight about this person.
Yeah, I
I
would've
consider that
thought
more of a
that
people
too.
person
There
thing.
you
'Cause
go.
insight's like, can I do an insight check? Yeah, you want to see if they're lying? Yes.
Yeah.
And then you roll, and then you're like, oh,
Whereas,
they're
no,
lying.
You're so right. And then Sherlock
You're in the
is
right. You're in the right
perception.
company. We're all nerdy here.
Yay!
And,
Insight versus
uh,
perception.
Odo Fidi, I also want to know, have you read a bunch of Agatha Christie and Arthur Conan Doyle? Because I love how much insight you have. She says also, if we could scroll up
Much
just
less fluid.
a little bit. Yeah. Sir Arthur Conan
Who's the best
Doyle.
detective, Sherlock, Hercule Poirot, or Columbo? And I know that you can do a Columbo
I'll do
impersonation.
Columbo. I can't do a good Columbo.
Yes, you can.
Well, no, well, no, I really
It's
can't.
just
I
Peter
can't.
Falk.
That's all it is. Yeah, but he always has like a specific phrase that he says that I can't do it. You just look up. I don't know who does a great Columbo.
I know I've been wanting to read those. I know I've been
Kevin-
J.K.
Kevin-
Rowling. Rowling?
Pollock.
Rolling.
Look up Kevin Pollock. I think is the actor's name. Does a brilliant Columbo. But go ahead. Or
But
Maurice
yeah,
LaMarche.
Arthur Conan Doyle had a very distinct way of writing that was made for the little bursts. much less fluid and gripping than the way Christie wrote, where you want to keep going and going. And
Got
that
it.
definitely, I will say, is the reason I think they call her the Queen of Mystery, is that there are, the characters are very distinct, even though there's a lot of them and we're having trouble keeping track. The way that they speak and who they are and everything stylized about them is really fun. But also that he's like, like as soon as you get into like, let's go investigate, I'm like, yes, I'm down. Let's go to the train, like figure it out. And one of the ones I just keep going back to the other one that I remember the most distinctly, that was at a dinner table, and that was sparkling cyanide, and a host invites everyone to a dinner, and then she falls dead and she's been poisoned, and it's all about trying to figure out who at the table did it. So I like that there are all these characters, and the whole point is that you are sort of going through and learning about them, and that there's a twist at the end.
Where murder mysteries became huge in what decade?
The 70s, Scooby-Doo.
Interesting. Oh, is that because of Scooby-Doo?
No, I just made that up.
Oh, I would have
completely.
believed it.
I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna have a cookie, candy. Here we go, Kit Kat. There we go.
You do that, and you want a bit more. A bit more wine. Because you drank it very fast.
I'm good. I did drink it
Depends
very
what kind
fast. I'm
of
good.
day you're having.
It's been that kind of a day.
Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries is great. Did you guys read Nancy Drew or the Hardy Boys? Have we talked about this?
No, I haven't. But again, I watched a lot of Scooby-Doo. That's my mystery when I was a kid.
I watched Scooby-Doo, though. Well, I guess that happens with certain things, too, where, like, the style of these, I feel like, is a lot of characters and a lot of twists. The style of I don't know why. I think Dan says this. He calls him Scoobathan Doodathan. I don't remember why, but it just popped into my head.
Well, his real name is Scoobert, but keep going.
Scooby-Doo. Pro or anti Scrappy-Doo?
Oh, bad
Bro.
anti.
Bro,
Just
because
stop talking so much.
Yeah.
the stigma that he was an annoying character, I think that was brought up in the James Gunn written, which bums me out, live action movie that was terrible. It's not true. It's not true. It was a really bad movie, but the idea that he was like, that everybody that watched cartoons hated him, I disagree. I think that Scrappy-Doo had moments of honestly genuine cuteness. I think that he falls into that TV trope of like, we have to bring in a younger, cuter character, sure. But there is a version of Scrappy-Doo that like is adorable and that you could love. So I'm pro Scrappy.
I wasn't into Scrappy-Doo.
Underdog. You like the tale of the underdog.
Ba-da-da-ba-ba-ba, puppy power.
That a little guy
right,
with a
Uncle
big
Scooby.
drink.
He was kind of cute.
You like the fact that a little thing could have big.
But I
Scrappy.
also like that it didn't happen often, and yeah, there was times where he was annoying, sure, but I like the idea that like Scrappy-Doo would do something, and Scooby, as like an uncle dog, would like throw up his huge Great Dane paw and be like, "No, Scrappy," and like try to protect him, and I'm like, that's cute as shit that they made Scooby like a parental. But whatever. Listen, I'm a huge fan of Scooby-Doo. If I ever actually sit down and write the script for a Scooby-Doo movie idea that I have, I'm gonna run it by you so that you can help me with the mystery aspect, and it'll be perfect.
Is
But
Velma
could you actually?
like the best in it?
She can be.
'Cause Velma's
No,
the best.
and I hate to do this, is going to be Shaggy, because to me Scooby-Doo is not about Scooby, it's about Shaggy. Scooby's a mascot, Shaggy's the
the
main
snacks
character.
aren't about dog food; they're about edibles. So can you actually write it like it's
No,
supposed
I
to
will
be?
not, because that's what James Gunn was trying to do when he wrote his
Yeah,
live action movie. He was
with
trying to
Matthew
make fun
Lillard.
of Scooby-Doo, and I'm like, no, I actually am very I have genuine feelings towards Scooby-Oo, and I feel like instead of making fun of, I don't want to do the. I would do a
I'm a dog
sincere.
owner.
I know,
I get it.
and I want to make a Scooby-Doo movie that would make you cry.
But
and
Velma
would make
always
you
solves the mysteries and never gets the credit.
All right.
But Daphne looks really good in the
They all have
trailer.
their role. They all have their role. Is it
Oh
Velma
my
solves
gosh!
the
Am I
mystery?
having that moment where it's like, who are we out of the Scooby game?
Yeah, you are definitely Velma. You are 1,000% Daphne, and I'm Shaggy, and I'm Shaggy. That's it. That's it.
Scrappy.
We don't have a Fred. If Dan Casey were here, he'd be the Fred.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he has been the Fred, and he's Fred.
he has been the Fred.
Yeah.
Fred. Did you
But
say I'm
I
Scrappy?
love that it's always
I'll
the
be Scrappy.
same.
Dude. I'll take that.
It's always the same. It's the same.
Well, if it wasn't for your meddling
Yes.
kids, I would have gotten away with it too.
Yes.
It's comforting.
And I feel that way about I lost it, but there are types of mysteries that have that pattern, that if you like the pattern, then you love it. It doesn't
Yes.
matter if because you change up the elements to it. That's on a simpler version that's for geared towards younger people. But this one I like that you can kind of set up these things and move the pieces around.
Yeah.
and it becomes something totally different. And I think that's something
What do you mean by that?
With the same
Move
ending,
the
though.
pieces around.
Not necessarily the same ending, but like a structure of like there's a thing and there's a lot of people and someone is murdered, and I'm going off of the one that I can remember, but it was like a lot of red herrings, a lot of leading you down different paths that are not actually true. And in some of the ones that I've been reading recently, there's usually like the person that, if it's really good, they're building it so that you suspect them, but not in an obvious way.
Yeah.
So they don't seem like they're the bad guy, and you're like, I don't know, I don't trust them.
There's
And then they
something about
lead you
them. Yeah.
further down, and then you get to the end, and it's like, nope, you were wrong. It's actually this person, and you're like, what? And you have to go.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite thing.
So hold on. When reading a book, can you have a gut feeling about things? Mm-hmm. So is this what they're almost manipulating, your intuition?
Yes.
I think so.
And they're crafted, if they're good, they're crafted in such a way that they're playing into that.
So that's why
Gut
we do
feeling.
our, every quarter of the book, our suggestion on who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
We're
And again,
excited.
my instinct, my gut feeling towards it being Hector McQueen is because I feel like the way that character was set
Well,
up.
all
and-
Hectors
and
are evil.
All Hectors are evil, but also all Hectors get to a breaking point where they're tired of being bullied for shit, and then they want to kill their bosses. So that's why I decided to pick him. No, because of the character actually has nothing to do with Scooby-Doo is a classic 5-man band, exactly. And Scooby's the big guy. I'll give you that, or like the drummer. Yeah. Which
Daphne's
is why
the chick, capital
the chick,
C.
yeah, Velma's a
Oh,
smart
but
one.
Nancy Drew was like that too. That's where I was going. Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys had
Is this
those
comforting, you know,
and they have
yeah.
sort of there were usually like artifacts that had some sort of clue. Like there's a painting, and if you peel back the edge, there's
Cool.
someone signed it, and you can find out where it is. There was always like the something in the house or the something on the ship. There's like always like a place where you have to find stuff. But yeah, I do think it's fun to guess who it is. But I also think we've just started, and I feel like we need to get to know who everyone is,
Yes.
and if they know each other and how they know each other.
I don't think we've met every character yet, have
don't
we?
think so
No,
either.
we
No, I
haven't.
looked
Because
at the
I'm
IMDb
like,
and there's a few I
we
don't
haven't
know.
met Willem Dafoe yet. We haven't met there's a
Yeah.
bunch of characters. I'm like,
Have we met Dr. Abner?
no, who's that? Who are they being played by? You don't want to say?
No, I've
You're gonna look it
forgotten.
up again?
Yeah.
Another Hottie Boombalati? That's what my mom says. Hottie Boombalati. Yeah, I spent the weekend with my mom.
Still back on this one
all your
page of
all your
Tom.
like family isms. came
Yeah,
back.
oh boy. Yeah, they really did. They zeroed a Hector real
Leslie
quick.
Odom Jr.
Leslie Odom Jr. I think that it's the assistant because of the stereotypical character of the assistant's had enough. Stab, stab, stab. But that's all my own
He had
gut
it
instinct,
coming.
and he had
Yeah.
it coming. So, and
I
who did you say you
I
thought it
think
was?
it's
You don't know yet.
Book.
Because
Because he's being so helpful.
yes.
The person who's like, you've got to help us find this person. You,
But
like,
it's also his job.
yeah, but
And if he weren't doing his job, it would be suspicious. That's why he's doing his
Yeah.
job. That's why he kills somebody. He's like,
Man.
I'll kill you. Need to help us
I'm
find
not really
the
thinking
killer.
of what I've seen so far. I'm thinking of like the twist.
Got it.
So when I know more, maybe that'll change.
But honestly, it's a debate, a dream debate, because every single person you could say why it could be them, and then another 10 reasons why it couldn't be them. So it's like,
yeah, it is.
I like
fun.
that.
Yeah.
Thierry says, I say it, Judi Dench. Oh, I don't think she's got it in her. She's Dame Judi Dench. She's the best. Knox
Thierry is
says,
also, who is French Canadian, I believe, has
Very
been thoroughly enjoying our attempts at French accents.
yes, they will be
Oh,
miserable
yes.
and terrible for the remainder of this book. We're so sorry. Yeah.
Do you guys watch
That's the man from Hamilton.
Doctor Who?
No, not yet, but I'm going to start with
There
when
is
the
a-
female doctor shows up.
Yay! I'm excited.
I'm
And
gonna
she's
get
really
into
good
it.
on Broadchurch too.
Good.
Yeah.
Female doctor who?
She's
Who?
the doctor.
Damn it, I fell for it.
I was about to say it. and you
Who's
were
on
just-
third?
Can't beat us to it.
I've got a Hector Navarro question in the comments from DeMarco Draws. Is Batman, which is the modern day detective, is he more like Sherlock or Poirot?
Batman has now evolved to a point, and I'm not trying to be a smartass, in popular culture where he's Batman, where there are characters that mimic him. Do you know what I mean? I mean, Batman started originally as a combination of a bunch of different pop culture shit, but now I would say that Batman was definitely Sherlock Holmes. He was Dracula. He was amalgamation of like pulp heroes like the Shadow and other sort of billionaires turned crime fighters at night and stuff. But I think now he is so specific but also malleable, that like he's not Poirot or Sherlock, he's kind of both but also a ninja. So he has all the, if you're talking like Batman, the world's greatest detective, which by the way, can I just go on a Batman tangent for a second? I think it's bullshit that Batman's the best at everything. I like it when he's the best at a bunch of stuff but not everything.
Because money can't buy you everything.
Thank you. I just think it's too inconvenient. It's more inconvenient than when Tobey Maguire is sitting with Kirsten Dunst in Spider-Man 3 and the only time the Earth's ever been visited by an alien is right there in Central Park, then goes and crawls over to his bike and follows him home and he becomes Venom. I'm like, he's the one guy who has superpowers on Earth. That's bullshit. I think it's bullshit when Batman's too good at everything. But you tell me that he's a ninja, like in Batman Begins, great. Where does he get his car? Morgan Freeman. Great. He didn't build his own car. Batman in the comics does he builds his own car.
It's not enough hours in the day, man.
Exactly. That's what's bullshit about it.
And every great man is like a team.
Is a team, yeah.
A team of great men and women.
He has said that Tim Drake is a better detective than him.
And I like that. I like when the comic books go, okay, Batman's like a jack of all trades, but this guy has this specialty, and this guy has this specialty, and he needs, yes, he needs to go to Barbara Gordon for something. He needs to go to Nightwing for something. Yeah, that's fine.
Would you say
I'm very
That
prepared for this
Nightwing
question.
is as good looking as this Tom Bateman?
Yeah.
I think Tom Bateman would be a good Nightwing. Look it up, everyone.
But
Look it up on
does he have all of the right?
Right? Oh, it's my boy.
But
Good person.
yeah, we have to check. We got to check Tom's butt, is what I'm trying to say.
I'll check his butt?
Before we can just give him the role.
I will
of
not
Nightwing.
look at the
objectify him. And I don't like to be objectified myself, but it's probably going to be real good, guys.
Yeah,
true.
okay.
Equal
You're right. You're
opportunity.
right. That front, that's a good back. That front, that's a good back.
So good you said it twice.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. One for each
Good
cheek.
up.
That's what you need.
Oh my god. Question.
Yeah.
All right.
Is Batman Hold on, I had it in my head. Is Batman
He's right behind you. Watch out.
Sherlock Holmes and Bruce Wayne is more Poirot?
Oh,
Yeah, I'll
yes,
give you that.
because
With
Batman has
people.
the theatrics.
And Batman has the theatrics and he stays by himself, and
Yes.
Bruce Wayne is the way he can deal with people.
Correct. And Batman specifically will be cold with people and other superheroes and detectives and peers and the police and villains and everybody to maintain that front.
Yeah.
And Bruce Wayne will specifically be charming and
Yeah, so
schmarmy
that
and
you-
so
yeah.
you can get info and stuff. Yeah, there you go.
Best Batman, best Bruce Wayne.
Both are Kevin Conroy. I'll go live
That's
action.
fair.
We're gonna go best Batman is. Damn.
Michael Keaton.
No, I think
Look
that
at the other way. I was like, who was the best Batman? Oh, Dick Grayson was the best. I like Dick Grayson better than Bruce Wayne.
I think best Batman. I will give it to Keaton. Best Batman because it was very fun superhero Batman, but he was still. And I'll give best Bruce Wayne. I'll give it to George Clooney.
Okay.
But that script was garbage.
Yeah.
But like, imagine if in 1997 there was like an awesome Batman movie that came out, and George Clooney
Yeah,
was
because
it.
he's very suave.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger was like a serious Victor Fries, and Uma Thurman was a serious Pamela Isley. That movie would have been dope.
Poison Ivy is the best part of that movie, though.
She's very good.
She's so good.
She's very good. Yeah, I don't
You're
know.
a compost. That was so funny for me because it's compost in Australia.
Compost.
You call it compost. And I was like, what's a compost?
Yeah, that's a fun question. Who's y'all's favorites Batmans? My favorite Poirot is definitely Kenneth Branagh, but who's your guys' favorite Batmans? Adam West, good one.
I'm gonna go
Ben Affleck.
with.
Ben
I
Affleck's
do
great, too.
love Batman. I mean, I love Batman the animated series. I feel like that feels like a true Batman.
It is. It's
based
the best
on
one.
what I know. But I think I like Keaton's Batman, and I would maybe go Christian Bale
Bale's,
for
yeah, that's mine.
Bruce Wayne?
for
Yep.
Bruce Wayne.
Yep.
You
he's kind of a
sycophantic. You get out of here. Go. The party's over. I love that.
Because
that
I
part.
just
Remember that?
imagine him as like this pretty boy, like kind of jerk, but charming jerk that you're like, I kind of want to smooch you, but I know it's a bad idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, like his Patrick
picture
Bateman, American Psycho. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mrs. Kylo Ren, Val
Yep.
Kilmer, favorite Bruce Wayne.
Not a bad Bruce Wayne. That movie tried. That movie, Batman Forever. That was the first movie that you could tell. So whoever was making that movie, they were like, we want this to be good. So here's a flashback of Bruce Wayne with his parents' funeral, with his dad's funeral. And they were trying to get some of that Batman Begins vibe in there. But then everybody else was like, no, but Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones is the movie. Bye. And whoever would try to do that thing with the funeral, they're like, oh, okay, I tried.
I really liked Jim Carrey as the
He's
Riddler.
great.
Yeah, I do too.
loved him.
I just love Jim Carrey.
Bat. Thought it was amazing. Best Joker, Mark Hamill.
Alpha Batman Club.
Yep.
Oh, Heath
Easy.
Ledger, sorry.
Mark Hamill's great.
He is great.
Yeah.
I'll give it to Mark. I'll give it
Our
to Mark.
favorite Nick Dent.
But Heath
Heath.
Ledger's amazing.
Because it's such a different take. They're
Yeah.
almost not even the same character.
That's what's fun about Batman and the Joker and all those characters is they are so malleable.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger's Joker is so good that people are saying now, like, The Dark Knight is just a Joker
Jack
movie
Nicholson's
with some Batman scenes in it. I'm like, yeah, that's true, and that's awesome.
So
That's a
really,
great
how
movie.
good is Murder on the Orient Express? Well, it lets you talk about Batman for a solid 50 minutes,
Yeah.
and that is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
win.
Well, this is a short section too.
Not a lot happened.
Really small book, really big writing.
What do you think's going to happen next?
We're gonna meet more people
Okay.
and learn things about them that make us think somebody did it.
I want more of the princess, and I think my visualization on the princess, she's described like a toad-like creature, like supremely ugly. I thought of how I first pictured. Yes.
Yeah.
How I
Oh,
first pictured Umbridge.
that's from Harry Potter.
Not movie Umbridge, but how I pictured
Oh.
Umbridge.
Yeah.
Who has no neck, very squat, wide, like
a
toad.
toad.
Maybe the movie's like
But slick hair, but like
Harming
a
me
really
a little
high
bit?
hairline.
really.
Okay.
Maybe the film's harming me a little bit because I couldn't help but picture Dame Judi Dench, and I think she's gorgeous
Yeah.
and such a great actress.
Exactly,
And
so she's
but I'm
got,
like,
like-
oh, I love her. I love the princess. But really, I should be like, she's miserable little toad.
You know what I like about usually like the BBC and British
Yeah.
adaptations
Go.
that this doesn't have is that you have people who are not super beautiful.
Super beautiful,
They
yeah.
have have much like
It's
older
like- it's-
movies
it's-
too. Like when we talk about 80s kids movies and stuff like that, like they have character. They don't
Yeah.
look like glossy. And everyone in this movie is very
Yeah.
attractive. And like if we were watching like when you watch like
Tom Bateman.
a Tolstoy adaptation on the BBC, like there are some weird looking people
Great.
in there.
That's
And
why everybody loves
That's what people look like.
to
We're
be
not
fair,
all
William,
beautiful.
Willem Dafoe is in this movie.
Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe.
Willem.
Well,
My
he's
high school
toad-like.
principal looked and sounded exactly like Willem Dafoe. It's very scary.
Willem
Wow.
for me is like
What's our
get-
homework?
when
Hector?
you're having a contradictory conversation.
sent to-
Willem different.
Willem.
Willem different.
Well, you get
In
sent
that
to the
regard.
principal's office, and you're like, what? Like, he's trying to give you homework, and you're like, what? And he's like, finish it! Finish it! That's your principal, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Finish it.
I do.
Can Spider-Man come out to play? Your homework, guys. Wait, first of all, scroll up, because this is a silly question. Go up a little bit. Just scroll up a little bit. Opposite. Are train movie books underrated,
Who is
guys?
that?
Who
Hand
wrote
up.
that question?
Hand
Yes.
up, Aaron.
Aaron, they are.
Uh-huh.
They are underrated.
Sure, man. Train movies
I do.
books
I
are
love
great.
thinking about like riding on a train.
Yeah, Thomas
is
the
so
Tank
fun.
Engine's dope. Unstoppable. I haven't seen it yet.
Train
Huh?
Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer's
I've
cool.
heard
There's a
Train
great
to
Bond
Busan
scene
is
with the
good.
train.
Oh my God. Yeah, man. Where he
and
gets Skyfall.
GoldenEye.
The whole movie.
Before sunrise.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah, the whole movie's
Huh?
good.
Little engine
French.
that could. Your homework for the next
Ethan
week.
Hawke.
Anastasia.
Sorry.
Oh, tell you what, Anastasia's a great movie. Tell you what, your homework for the next
Tell you
week.
what. Wow.
Tell you what, wow, Hank Azaria. Mwah. Pizza Chef. Under Siege
I got
2.
so excited at Anastasia.
Yeah, it's
I
great.
haven't even had
I
any
love
wine.
that movie. I love Anastasia. You got to read to the beginning of chapter 7 in part 2.
Okay, I was like, wait, that's
Wait, that's a whole what? Huh? Is it really? Wait. Oh.
We're in part 1.
Oh.
I
my
was
God.
like, that's gonna be.
Yeah, and I'm
I see.
done.
That's gonna be a
Here's part 2.
10-minute show.
Okay, which is stop at the evidence of Count and Countess Andreani. So I'm looking for. Okay, the beginning of chapter 7. I have it marked as page 141 is where I'm at.
Yep, 141.
141. Is that correct?
Yep.
And then you're reading from 6, A Woman, to what we just said. Don't forget, guys, we're also on Goodreads. Search Alpha Book Club and come discuss books with us if you're interested in joining us via Skype. And why wouldn't you be? Just let us know on Twitter at JoinTeamAlpha with the hashtag Alpha Book Club, and Courtney's going to get you all set up.
BYO1.
Guys, make sure that you BYOB, BYOW. Send us your book recommendations to at Nerdist, at Geek and Sundry, or at JoinTeamAlpha with the hashtag Alpha Book Club. Guys, is there anything else?
I want to read this comment.
Go.
Gary says, the Murder on the Orient Express has a Green Goblin, a Catwoman, a Jedi, a Snowman, a Pirate, and M. That's dope.
Man,
That's it.
I recognized all of those actors. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so good. Oh, she's definitely a Jedi already.
Neither
Believe it or
is
not.
Luke.
She's a
Oh,
Jedi.
he did. He confronted Luke. You're ready to confront Vader to become a Jedi.
He's on the council, but not granted the right to
Oh my God! This place is full of nerds, and I love it. Okay, guys, we're gonna see you
Roll a
next
D20.
week. Roll a D20. Maude was all scared. I'm gonna make a Dungeons and Dragons
Yeah, I
reference.
know.
And we're like,
Volumes,
actually,
perception.
it's insight.
Everyone
Okay.
seriously roll a D20 and comment it to me, please.
All right,
Be
see you
real,
guys.
take
See
a
you guys
photo.
next week.
Bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.